the rich culinary history of the Middle East, spices, edible plants, and timeless traditions. The Middle East is often celebrated as the cradle of civilization, a region where ancient empires, cultures, and trade routes converged, leaving a profound legacy on the world's culinary heritage. Central to this legacy is the discovery and use of spices and edible plants, which have shaped not only the flavors of Middle Eastern cuisine, but also global gastronomy, medicine, and culture. The origins, Fertile Crescent, and early agriculture. The story of Middle Eastern food begins in the Fertile Crescent, a crescent-shaped region spanning modern-day Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Palestine, Jordan, and parts of Turkey and Iran. Around 10,000 years ago, some of the earliest known agricultural practices emerged here, marking the transition from hunter-gatherer societies to settled farming communities. The people of the Fertile Crescent were among the first to cultivate wheat, barley, lentils, chickpeas, and flax. These crops became dietary staples and laid the foundation for the region's food culture. In parallel, wild herbs and plants growing in the region, such as thyme, oregano, sumac, and za'atar, a wild thyme mix, were gathered and integrated into diets both for their flavor and medicinal properties. Spices, the ancient treasures of flavor and medicine. Early use and trade spices in the Middle East were prized far beyond their culinary use. Ancient texts, including those from Mesopotamian and Egyptian civilizations, show that spices like cumin, coriander, fennel, and cardamom were not only cooking ingredients but also part of religious rituals, embalming practices, and traditional medicine. The Middle East's position at the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe made it a hub for spice trade for thousands of years. Traders from the Arabian Peninsula sailed to India and East Africa, importing exotic spices like cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and black pepper. These spices were then distributed throughout the Mediterranean and Europe via overland and maritime routes. Cultural significance. In Middle Eastern kitchens, spices are not used merely for heat or sweetness, but as essential layers of flavor that elevate dishes. For example, sumac, a tangy, lemony spice made from dried berries, adds a bright acidity to grilled meats and salads, while saffron, the world's most expensive spice, lends a delicate aroma and golden hue to rice dishes like Persian cello or Arabic makbous. Za'atar, a blend of wild thyme, sesame seeds, sumac, and salt, is one of the most iconic spice mixtures of the region, used to flavor everything from bread to roasted vegetables. Its use dates back thousands of years, with recipes varying from region to region but always reflecting a deep connection to the land. Edible plants, wild and cultivated, wild herbs and greens. The Middle Eastern landscape is rich in wild edible plants that have been foraged and used for millennia. Plants such as purslane, wild fennel, nettles, wild garlic, and chicory were gathered seasonally and often used in salads, soups, and stews. Many of these plants are highly nutritious, offering vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. The tradition of foraging and eating wild greens continues today in rural areas and is celebrated for its connection to nature and traditional knowledge. This practice also highlights the sustainability and seasonality inherent in Middle Eastern food culture. Olive trees and fig trees. Two emblematic plants of the Middle East are the olive tree and the fig tree. Olive cultivation dates back to at least 6000 BCE in the Levant region. Olive oil became a cornerstone of the diet, prized for its flavor and health benefits. It was used not only as food but also in lamps, cosmetics, and religious ceremonies. Similarly, fig trees were cultivated for their sweet fruit and wood. Both olive and fig trees symbolize prosperity, peace, and fertility in many Middle Eastern cultures, appearing frequently in ancient texts and art. Culinary impact and legacy: Middle Eastern cuisine, enriched by centuries of spice trade, agricultural innovation, and cultural exchange, is characterized by its aromatic complexity and use of fresh, wholesome ingredients. The use of spices and edible plants not only creates bold flavors but also reflects a philosophy of balance between sweet and sour, bitter and savory, hot and cool. Some key dishes highlight this heritage. Hummus and falafel use chickpeas, herbs, and spices like cumin and coriander. Kebabs and koftas, seasoned with sumac, allspice, and garlic. Pilafs and rice dishes, often infused with saffron, cinnamon, and nuts. Herb-infused breads, like manakish topped with za'atar. Moreover, the medicinal use of spices, from turmeric for inflammation to mint for digestion, underscores the holistic nature of Middle Eastern culinary tradition. And finally, a living culinary heritage. The Middle Eastern discovery and use of spices and edible plants is more than a historical curiosity. It is a living tradition that continues to influence modern cooking worldwide. It tells a story of trade, migration, cultural exchange, and an intimate relationship with the land's natural bounty. This culinary heritage invites us to explore flavors deeply rooted in history, culture, and nature, a testament to the enduring spirit of the Middle East. Thank you for listening and watching Afsan Farm Kitchen.